Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be forgot.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Put chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Welcome back, Occulte Veritatis podcast listeners. This is Richard Bigley, and in studio with us today we have
Leon Filger,
Oud Gallifrey,
and
J-Lo.
All right.
Welcome to the studio for his first inaugural
episode ever.
that he has done and not guest on.
Yeah, Richard Bigley is leading the charge tonight.
We're so proud of him. Yep. He's grown so much.
We grow so fast, don't we?
We do.
All right. So just kind of a quick throwback to the consumer DNA test episode. This kind of has a little bit to do with it. But anyway, one of my parents was adopted, so I took a DNA test, and without surprise, I find people who I am biologically related to through this process.
Nate!
Anyway, I start talking to some of them and say I'm a long-lost family member who was descended from somebody who was adopted out of the family. And many of them are really happy and helpful and just want to help me find my place in the family.
And you had a grouchy old grandma.
Yeah, but anyway, so they warned of turmoil in the family, and it seemed to be a very common theme amongst everybody I talked to. So... like it was a big deal. Like people changed their names because they didn't want to be a part of this family anymore.
Oh,
a bunch of kids were put up for adoption because they didn't want to have kids
in
this family. So anyway, this episode is about the Kerouac brothers and the murder of RCMP Corporal Leonard Ralls.
Murder!
But first, what's your poison?
So, what's your poison?
Okay, so Richard Bigley has brought some poison for us. This is called Bandit's Moonshine.
It's dark, though.
It's reddish. It's like it's the color of red wine.
Well, our Bandit's Moonshine is clear. I brought it down for comparison.
My Bandit's Moonshine is broken.
It is empty.
Yours is still empty. I'm going to pass it around in a second here. This was brewed in Weyburn, Saskatchewan. The front of it is got
Weyburn.
Sharpie markered on 30% alcoholic volume and batch number 10, whatever the fuck that means. The back of it
Sharpie marker is always legit.
Yeah.
It is.
The back reads, quote, "We are Bandit's Moonshine Incorporated, a distillery built on foundations rooted with over 100 years of farming life in Saskatchewan. Our research into the world of what moonshine research are you doing?
I will sign up for that next time.
What research is involved
Steel
in moonshine?
bathtub, porcelain bathtub.
They find a lot of the answers at the bottom of the
Toilet
bottle.
basin water.
Anyway, so their research into the world of moonshine, vodka, gin, and whiskey products. Okay, so apparently these people have researched moonshine. They've done some exhaustive testing and have come up with this red shit.
I have clear shit.
This red shit tastes like cherry Dimetapp.
Okay, what's the alcohol percentage on that?
It's 30%.
Mine is 50.
Can I have a shot?
You can go with how.
By the way, for those of you cults out there, the computer decided to restart and you missed a
It shit itself and it was fucking annoying.
So we had a great conversation.
Hit us up on Twitter. Would you rather have "Oh, I'm so moist" or "Oh, I'm so damp" being whispered sexually into your ear?
"Oh, I'm so wet"?
It
was damp and moist. Those were the choices.
Wet is definitely hotter to whisper to someone. Like,
I know, but that wasn't the choice.
So fucking wet.
Wet is preferable to those two, but I want to know, like, between those two.
It's unidirectional too, because if I wwhisper "I'm so wet" in someone's ear, not a turn on.
Okay.
I pissed myself on a
I have a sweaty asshole.
have the wrong anatomy for that.
I just
to be a
came
turn
from the
on.
gym and I am so wet down there.
My pants are vaguely sticky, baby.
Kill, I have like a vaguely unattractive lady voice. Ooh, I'm so moist.
No, you don't. You have a good voice.
Wait. Shh.
Ooh, I'm so damp.
No, moist. But if you said wet,
Oh, I'm so wet.
by far the best.
That's not
I
fair.
turned myself on when I said I was
But
so
that
wet.
wasn't one of the choices in the conversation
It
because
doesn't
wet
matter,
is
it's
different
still-
from moist. Like,
No, but-
like, would you have a wet cake or would you have a moist cake?
Now talk about
Well,
how.
I would have a moist cake, but I would have like a wet woman.
Can you talk about how active your mucous membranes are?
It depends on what is activating them.
Okay.
Were we gonna,
Alright.
were we
So I
gonna
guess we
rate
should-
this or discuss
yeah, let's
it in
rate,
any way?
rate this liquor.
Rate this liquor.
Okay, well, let's talk about this
Leon.
liquor. Have we even talked about it?
We haven't. Not on mic.
Not recorded.
You guys missed a 20-minute discussion off mic. We have to do it for the fans.
Read it again.
Okay, so we are Bandits Moonshine Incorporated, a distillery built on a foundation rooted with over 100 years of farming life in Saskatchewan. Our research into the world of moonshine, and again, I'd said, like, what research are you doing into moonshine?
At
There's
the
no
bottom of a
research
bottle.
involved in that.
Yeah, like it's
Same
steel
research I'm
bathtub
doing
or
right now.
porcelain bathtub.
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
toilet water versus like
Yeah.
crop water. I don't know, maybe some
Crop
diesel,
water.
some diesel fuel in there, a little bit of urine. Who knows?
Some fertilizer runoff.
When I hear the words moonshine research, I imagine like a hillbilly using 2 moonshine bottles to bird
Moonshine research.
Well, it is from
Yeah, da, da, da,
Weyburn,
da.
so
Maybe the research is actually the like, how do you make it so that it doesn't turn you blind? Because that's actually a hard part of the distilling. Is
Yeah.
the-
Moonshine research is the name of my new folk band.
There you go.
Fuck you guys.
That's awesome.
Ding, ding,
You know what?
ding,
That's
ding.
a good one.
That is
Okay.
a good one. All of mine are good ones.
Anyway, with a quest to find top methods of distilling from the legends, we are home and ready to share our unique spirits with unforgettable flavors that are comparable to the rest of the world. Okay, so it tastes like cherry Dimetapp, but here's how I'm going to describe it because I don't mind cherry Dimetapp. So she tells you it's that time of the month. So you know going into it, you're going to be drinking from the Red Sea.
Yep.
I'm not into that.
It's not a problem if you know about it ahead of time. And I knew going into this that it was going to taste like cherry Dimetapp, so it's okay.
Yeah. So
You just don't want to get menstrual blood on your beard and be like, fuck, I did not expect that.
yeah. You have to be
Who
meant.
has done that to you?
You have to. Yep.
Really? Someone
Yes.
has not told you?
No, many times.
Yep.
Many times I have gone bathing in the Red Sea and did not know it was red.
Yeah. Ditto.
Yes.
Ditto.
Yeah,
That feels
definitely.
like not statistically a
Some-
probable event, but
No,
okay, I'm
it's
going to
happened-
believe you.
It's happened multiple times.
You're
to
saying
me.
it with such conviction. I have
Literally,
no
the
reason
first thing
to
you say
doubt
is,
you.
"Hey, I'm on my rag."
No, that's happened once.
Sometimes they're like, "Oh, I can feel it coming. It's gonna arrive," but you're both horny and you're gonna do it anyway. And you
No, I don't
You
care
chance a
if-
little blood on you.
I don't care if she's in day 3 and it's oozing out. I'm still going down on
Yeah,
that.
you gotta be-
Oozing?
I just want to know about it.
You got to be mentally prepared for it.
I need to be mentally prepared.
No
for
surprise
it.
blood.
No surprise blood.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yo,
I'm on board.
I'm on an IUD, so I don't
Because
get my
I have
period
iron
anymore.
deficient anemia, so a little bit of period blood from time to time is good for me.
Hey,
Gross.
J-Lo, what do you think of the moonshine?
Yeah, if we're going to pivot back to the moonshine, the first thing I said, like, this is, if you give this a good sniff, like,
That's
it
what she
is,
said.
wow, it is like you're just inhaling cough syrup. It's just like straight up. That is the
Straight
character.
Dimetapp.
That is the character it has. So then when you take a sip of it, it's actually pleasantly surprising.
It is pretty good, and
because
it's really good with cranberry juice.
Because it's not like you're drinking straight cough syrup.
Yeah.
No, it's nice.
But I have to say that then it has a little bit of an aftertaste that is cough syrup. So it's a strange emotional experience.
We call
of
that the cough
low
syrup
to
sandwich.
high to low. Yeah,
It's like breaded between cough syrup and cough syrup, but
I
the
fucking
middle
love
is
bread
something
and
different.
things.
Yeah, it tastes like you're gonna burn your nose hairs off, and then it doesn't, and then it does.
yeah.
It's,
Okay, well-
it's Saskatoon berry flavor.
Which
for-
From
Apparently,
upstairs, I brought. My husband has the same thing, but it's 50% alcohol. And it's Bandit's Moonshine, a high proof distilled grain spirit that is smooth, the subtle sweetness, which I will not be drinking. It's 50% alcohol, and it's the 6th batch. So it's Off you go. I'm not sure who's tried it yet.
Well, I got the 10th batch,
it's
so
just
they probably fleshed out all the imperfections in my batch versus.
Yeah, that's just going to have way too much, of those the
floaties and whatever else.
I don't see
top
any
or the bottom
floaties.
of the fermenter don't want? I don't remember. I think it's both.
I don't trust alcohol that's that flammable.
The heads or the tails.
Who drank it?
Yep. Is it
awkward?
I'm waiting for a dentist appointment because I have a bit of toothache right now, but I don't have a toothache right now. I think I just have to get mildly drunk on moonshine 24/7, and I won't have a.
Also, our goddess Valhalla is going to bring us some moonshine. I think.
Oh
yeah.
God bless her.
Okay, let's get into Bigley's episode. All right, so I guess moving on to the episode.
Sorry.
The RCMP is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police for those international listeners. Colloquially, we call them Mounties. I guess they're kind of like the Canadian FBI, more or less, sort of in a roundabout kind of way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But they dress sharper.
Yeah, apples and oranges, but they're both still fruit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a federal police force that investigates.
I feel like since you're clarifying for the international listener, we should also clarify that they are only occasionally mounted on horses. Like, this is actually not a common occurrence.
They do have cool pants, though.
Like they
Those
do
swoops.
when
they do
show
dress
up,
like normal police officers. From day to day, it's only the ceremonial dress that everybody knows when they think like Mountie. But
that's what they put on when they go on parade.
When they do the musical ride.
Yeah.
Okay, so RCMP Corporal Leonard Victor Ralls was born on August 4th, 1887. He enlisted in the RCMP.
He's pretty fucking old.
At the time, it was called the Northwest Mounted Police.
Oh, no.
On September
Flashback
9th,
to the 1885 Rebellion episode.
Bing, bing.
Yep. September 9th,
Resistance.
1914. So anyway, he was stationed in McCrory, in Saskatoon, in Prince Albert, in Laird. All these are communities in Saskatchewan.
They are indeed.
He was discharged from the RCMP September 8th, 1917 to go join the First World War.
Ooh.
If your Prince Albert has a discharge, you should see a doctor.
Okay, hold on just a second. I've got a buddy, like a good friend who has a Prince Albert, and when he takes it out,
has a Prince. Oh,
yeah, he has to plug one of his holes when he pees, or the pee will come out both holes and spray in two different directions.
Yeah, and you never want a double streamer.
No, you don't.
I guess Rawls joined the he enlisted with the 29th Light Horse and served overseas, and then he rejoined the RCMP on February 20th, 1920. So on February 19th, 1923, he left the RCMP to join the Saskatchewan Provincial Police, served with them until the end of May of 1928, when the Saskatchewan Provincial Police was absorbed back into the RCMP.
There you go.
He had a wife named Catherine, and he had 4 children. His oldest
Absorbed
child
by the RCMP is the name of my Canadian folk parody band.
Oh, I love that. Like the Arrogant Worms.
Like the
Absorbed
Arrogant Worms,
by the RCMP. Okay, I'm super into that.
Because Canada's really big.
So of his 4 kids, he has his oldest one was 12. His service number was 6177, and he was in F Division, which basically means Saskatchewan. He served with the RCMP until his death on Tuesday, July 5th, 1932. He was 45 years old, stationed in the detachment of Foam Lake, Saskatchewan, and he had 15 years of total service with the RCMP.
I've danced in Foam Lake before.
My service number for working for the government of Canada is 9 digits long, so that's crazy.
Mine is also 9 digits long.
Yeah. I think we got it in the same time.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Bill Miller was a friend of the Kurlak brothers. He was 37 at the time. He had a prior criminal record, mostly dealing with issues of theft and fraud. Miller certainly looked the part of a criminal. He had a hard face and curly hair. A person
Me too!
You do have a hard face. I do agree. A person who worked at a store that he had visited over the summer looked at him and thought, man, if you're not just out of jail, you haven't been out of jail for very long.
Oh, boy.
That hard face thing reminds me of Catwoman, like Halle Berry's Catwoman.
Yeah, she's hot.
Halle Berry is hot as fuck.
Holy shit, I would not kick her out of bed.
Her in Monsters Ball? Oh, she can monster
Remember
my
when
ball.
She can
superhero
monster my balls also.
Remember when superhero movies sucked and they're just like, Catwoman, let's make her like a cat. that's the be all and end all of the lore.
All right.
And the villain in that movie was a skincare company that used skincare to make rock hard granite faces. Not even kidding. Okay, sorry.
So Mike Kerouac is Bill Kerouac's younger brother. He was 17 years old and basically just kind of hung out with his brother, getting into trouble. Bill Kerouac was 24. He met Bill Miller. Yeah, they were both named Bill. Bill Kerouac, Bill Miller.
Too many bells.
Yes, I know. In jail at the PA pen a few months earlier, Kerouac had been serving time for theft of furs. So anyway, they let the Bills out and they met up on the outside and were just kind of doing all sorts of shenanigans over the summer. And sometimes they'd bring Mike with them as well.
You know, I love that we have moonshine accompanying this episode because like the burning is like matching this tale just beautifully.
Yes.
Yeah.
I raspy voice.
I do kind of visualize these guys drinking moonshine, but more like this clear shit that just hurts.
That's the stuff that is from my upstairs kitchen.
It's just a glass of suffering.
With my 4-year-old son.
You only drink this to get hammered.
Yeah.
There's no enjoyment in it. It's just about getting fucked.
Oh yeah, like hillbillies are nothing if not efficient. Like they'll find the quickest way to get food, drink, like all kinds of fucked up. Like they're strangely pragmatic for rednecks, you know.
And then Leon and I are looking at hot pictures of Halle Berry.
Yeah, we totally are.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
a
don't believe
visual
it.
that I now have.
I don't believe it.
If you excuse me for a second.
You know, for a member of the BDSM community, I'm not as much into like leather as you would. I don't know. I'm more of a lacy dude. Anyway, sorry.
Whatever. It's just my
Can we get to
episode.
the murder already?
I would love to get to the murder.
Welcome to being a host.
Bring me the murder.
I certainly hope I don't interrupt you all that much.
Fuck you, Richard Bigley.
Okay, so Saskatchewan.
Also, I love you.
Me too. You're a
Yeah.
sexy man.
You are.
Why, thank
I love
you. It's the moonshine voice, I think.
I've showered naked with Richard Bigley in a hostel in Toronto.
I'd shower naked with Richard Bigley in a hostel.
Does it make you angry when I interrupt you with compliments, you beautiful man?
I'm very beautiful.
You beautiful fucking man.
It's too bad my face is obscured by a microphone.
It's not. I can see it. And it's beautiful.
I have you on profile.
So the Saskatchewan people have a big trust with the RCMP. Many, Saskatchewan's a largely rural population, spread out, across many towns and
That's what she
villages. And so it's almost isolation. So they relied on the RCMP to kind of give people a sense of security.
ACAB.
No.
And so many still feel this way. So that summer, there were many break-ins and robberies being reported in towns along what was at the time Highway 14, but today is now Highway 16, or the
Highway
Yellowhead
16.
Highway. The
So
RCMP.
majestic.
Does anyone actually know why it's called the Yellowhead Highway?
No,
Whose
I don't
head is
fucking
yellow?
know. Who the
I have
fuck's head
no
is
idea.
yellow? Okay, let's Google it.
I think he's a chief or something, maybe at some
He's
point.
not a chief. He's a
Why
Quaker.
is it called
No Canadian
The-
knows why it's called the Yellowhead Highway.
Yellow?
None of you fuckers know.
I don't know.
No, you don't.
I just always assumed it was vaguely racist. Like it was a reference to like putting tunnels through the Rockies.
Yeah.
And they were just like, well, it's a little bit racist, but we'll go with it.
Okay. The highway is named for the Yellowhead Pass, the route chosen across the Canadian Rockies. The pass and the highway are named after a fur trader and explorer named Pierre Bostonnet. He had yellow streaks in his hair and was nicknamed Terjean.
Terjean.
Yellowhead.
Hair. Yeah.
So anyway, because of these break-ins and whatever, the RCMP sent out a bunch of checkpoints and patrols along the highway to try to catch what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
The two brothers and their friend Bill were just kind of getting up to trouble.
Fucking Bill, always up to trouble.
They were stealing
Always the
gas,
goddamn Bill.
oil, jewelry, clothes, hardware, guns, ammo, whatever. If they could take it, they took it.
My dad's name was Bill. He was an alcoholic.
My dad's name is Kimberly, and he's a delight.
So anything that wasn't nailed down,
Yeah,
like,
pretty much
were they just
anything,
like, were they selling it to other people or what?
Well, yeah, it was kind of what the whole idea was, And so anyway, actually they stole so much that they couldn't get rid of everything. Like they would go back to the
First
family
world
farm.
problems.
They would go back to the farm in Kenora, and they would offer like the family, their brothers and sisters.
My first
and
wife was
parents
born
clothes.
on a farm in Kenora.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So anyway, they tried to give these clothes to the family, and the family's like, "Shit, no, we don't want your stolen shit. Like, fuck off.
We don't want your fucking shitty shit."
So the family was like, "No, go away," and so they did. And so they were like, "Well, okay, we'll just go up the highway and try to peddle our wares." So anyway, that night of July 4th, 1932, the Carroll brothers and Bill Miller loaded up 3 bags of clothes in a stolen blue Plymouth, and wanted to see if they could find anyone who'd buy these clothes.
Oh my god.
So at 1:40 a.m. on July 5th, they passed a police officer standing on the side of the road. They didn't stop despite the officer trying to flag him down. His name was Constable Nowakowski. So anyway, they took...
I know people whose last names are Nowakowski, not Novakowski.
And so anyway, Nowakowski
important fact
took
to know.
chase, and every time he tried to pass them, the brothers would try to cut him off. And these were like the shitty old timey cars, so I can't imagine it would be very safe
Shitty Old
for
Timey
anyone
Cars is the
involved.
name of my
Alternative grunge band.
No, I was thinking more like kind of like a jazz revival.
Yeah, I think they topped off at like 30 or 40 kilometers an hour.
Yeah, I'm just envisioning like a high-speed chase that's barely faster than running speed. Stop, damn it!
Wait up! I'm tired.
So to make things more interesting, Bill Miller began to shoot at Nowakowski's car through the back window. So at that point, he decided to back off, and he stopped in the village of Shiho and went to a phone and phoned the Foam Lake detachment and told them, "Hey, these guys are coming up the highway, do up a roadblock." So being like small town Saskatchewan, there was probably only one officer in Foam Lake, and it's probably the same today where there's probably only one officer in Foam Lake.
When I danced at Foam Lake, I'm pretty sure there's only one officer.
Or now they have like one officer dealing with many towns, and like
Foam Lake is very small.
But the cutbacks were coming, and
the Mountie lost his job.
Exactly. So anyway, Constable Ralls, or I guess Corporal Ralls, went out to set up the roadblock in his car. The Curlax and Miller met up with Ralls, and Ralls had signaled them to stop. So they stopped, and one of the occupants slipped out into the darkness and hid behind a nearby building.
I like to slip out into the darkness.
Me too.
One time I went and I signed up for the RCMP, and I wrote the RCMP Police Aptitude Battery, and I got the highest score in history, but I was high on cannabis marijuana when I wrote it. And then they phoned me and they're like, "Hey, you really need to fucking join the RCMP." And I'm like, "I'm too high."
You probably would have failed the fuck out of the test. Hey, buddy.
I prefer to slip into the darkness instead of slipping out.
So Rawls approached the car, and the occupants in the car started shooting back at him. And then the one in the darkness started shooting as well, and it was too late. Basically, Rawls was turned around and was running back to his car, but he had already been hit.
Oh, no.
So basically...
He didn't have a bulletproof vest, did he?
No.
Was that a thing back then?
No.
So Rawls laid on the road, incapacitated. The brothers ripped out the ignition wires on the police car and pushed it into the ditch.
Nice.
They ran back to the stolen Plymouth and took off. There was a nearby salesman. His name, I guess, was A.E. Wells, and he was kind of sleeping at a nearby roadside camp.
I always sleep in nearby roadside
bulletproof vests made of Kevlar were developed in 1965, and they were first commercially used in the early 1970s.
Yeah, so he was awakened by the sound of speeding cars at 3 a.m. He heard 5 loud explosions, and thinking it was a vehicle backfiring, didn't think much of it. And then he heard 1 more explosion. Then he heard 3 more.
Oh, boy.
And then he knew it wasn't just a vehicle backfiring. He kind of got a little bit closer and saw that these men around a police car. Then he heard some more shots. And then he saw them take off in another vehicle. He also heard Corporal Rawls cry out, "Sandy, help."
Oh, no.
Who's Sandy?
Sandy Baird
Rosebud.
lived close to a creamery, kind of on the side of the road. Creamery, where you get cream from cattle.
Like a happy massage parlor.
No.
Wrong creamery? Oh.
Wrong kind of cream, my friend.
Damn it.
Gross.
So
you
anyway,
still get it by churning.
Sandy had seen how badly Ralls was injured and got out of his car and lifted into the back seat to get him to a doctor. Sandy's wife was at their home nearby and didn't know what was going on. They just heard shooting. So Sandy's wife phones Ralls at home to report the shooting.
Oh boy.
And Rawls's wife, Catherine, answers the phone.
Ooh.
Early morning, knowing that her husband went out to set up a roadblock.
Oh, no.
And of course, Sandy's like, there's been a shooting on the side of the road. We need to get your husband out here.
And
oh, boy.
Small town Saskatchewan. I mean, he might have been one of the only cops on the beat. She would have known.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that was how she found out that her husband had been shot.
That's awful. I can't imagine.
So
I've gotten some bad 3 a.m. calls. Not like your husband is, by the implications of what I say, your husband is probably dead kind of calls.
No, like the worst calls at 3 a.m. I've received are like, hey, Sage, come pick me up. I'm too drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, they kind of figure out what's going on. And so Rawls' wife gets picked up by Sandy on their way to their on the way to the doctor. The local doctor's name is Dr. Sommer. They get to his place and they kind of help Rawls to his feet, and he seemed kind of able to hold it together for a moment, but then he collapsed on the ground and just getting out the words, it's too late, I'm finished, is pretty much what he says.
It's too late, I'm finished.
It's too late, I'm finished was pretty much his, well, I guess, second to last words.
That's harrowing.
That hurts my soul. I can feel his hopelessness in that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the doctor examines him, and it's obvious that the injuries were fatal. He had been shot just below his heart and again in his ribs. Rawls turned to his wife and said, "They've got me." And then he turned to the other people in the room, Sandy, his wife, and the doctor, and turned to them and says, "They went east."
Oh.
Later in court, there would be some discussion as to whether it was one bullet that split in two and the jacket took one trajectory and the core took another, or if it was actually two shots.
Fucking yikes.
Corporal Ralls passed away at 4:30 in the morning. Yeah. He died with his wife at his side. So, I mean, as far as that goes, I mean, I guess
that's good.
I hope I die with my wife by my side.
Me too.
I mean, bittersweet's better than bitter, I guess.
I guess.
Yeah.
But by
all of you will die with me by your side.
The prophecy has been set.
It's a threat.
That sounds terrifying.
Right?
So, by 6 a.m., the whole area had learned of Rawls' death, and they were on the search for the Cadillacs and Miller. Almost 40 RCMP officers were assigned to this manhunt, and several hundred civilians formed into posses to help them.
Yeah.
So, searching the Saskatchewan countryside certainly isn't an easy task. There are sloughs, ditches, woodlands, marshes, swamps. Many roads are washed out and impassable. And that is just today.
Yeah,
that's true. It's true.
Yeah. Imagine being 1930s.
Yeah. I'd hate to be a cop on the beat today because there's so much area where people can hide and so many farmyards you can duck in and so many places you can hide a body. It'd be horrible.
But only if they didn't have a cell phone, though.
Yeah.
But if you're doing, or even without that, like if you're trying to find someone right now, we have like thermal imaging cameras. You know, it's pretty good technology.
The Saskatoon Police Air Guided Law Enforcement has got some seriously cool FLIR technology on their airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can see pretty far, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah. Nowadays, you can find someone like hiding in a tree stand in some guy's forest and just be like, go there.
Can't hide from the FLIR.
Call back to our Human Bodies After Death episode for information on how you can tell if a dead body is buried just by the composition of the soil and all that good stuff.
Cadaver Island. That was the name of my very first band.
Yes.
That's when it started.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm not sorry.
Okay.
It's a good name.
So, basically, from Yorkton comes, I guess, the chief inspector or whatever, and his name, W.J. Moorhead.
From Yorkton comes the chief inspector is the name of my sex tape.
But he's Inspector W.J. Moorhead.
How much plot?
Oh, you haven't. Oh, you got nothing to say to that? Or
No,
what?
no.
Okay.
I'll just.
I would
allow it.
expect no less in a sex tape.
How much?
Oh, Mr. Moorhead.
How much scripting and plot would be in your porno? Would you just show up and like, I'm the inspector from Yorkton. Here's my penis.
I'm not sure that I have a penis, though.
That's true.
So, Regina radio station CKCK had basically...
Which still exists as a television station, CKCK, which is the only non-unionized CTV station in the province.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Fucking unionized CKCK.
Unionized CKCK.
So they put out a public call to everybody to kind of come to Foam Lake and Yorkton and Kenora and kind of hunt these guys down. RCMP came from all over the province. Local hunters offered their services and knowledge, kind of knowing the bush and the terrain and everything.
I also know the bush and the terrain.
As do I.
Now, here's the interesting part.
I'm trimming the bushes so you can see the tree better. But anyway, go ahead.
A little bit of bush cover is all right.
They even had 3 aircraft out
is
searching
all right.
for these guys. 3 aircraft. Now, I mean, think like 1930s.
There were only
3
3
aircraft.
aircraft.
Like that was probably every aircraft in the whole province.
Especially after World War I. Like our Air Force got pretty mega fucked. Like
Mega fucked. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they had I guess a fleet of 3 planes flying around to try to catch them.
Yeah.
By 1 p.m. that Wednesday, there was already 70 armed farmers and about 40 RCMP.
Armed farmers.
Yeah.
70 armed farmers.
Yep.
Is the name of my next sex tape.
I mean, and growing up on a farm, like you're trained, like you have to shoot coyotes and shoot like animals that are living in pain and all that. Like, yeah, if you have to put a cow out of its misery because it like broke its ankle in a gopher hole, like you know your way around a gun. So farmers are kind of like a lightly trained population.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so these posses searched for days. Many people wouldn't eat. Many of them wouldn't sleep or even rest. Phone service back then was fairly limited, so the RCMP basically communicated with the citizen posse by written messages that they would drop from the planes.
Oh, no.
You just write it down, strap it to a brick, I guess, throw it overboard at these crowd of people, and I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
I hope someone catches this.
I mean, message is a level 1 spell. The least they could do.
So 2 days into the shooting, Inspector Moorhead promised the shooters would be brought to justice, and this is, I guess, an exact quote: "I will not sleep until I get these murderers."
Oh man,
Same.
I mean, when you make, I mean, back then promises to the public were a lot more serious. Like you weren't
Than they are now. Like I promised to get rid of First Past the Post.
I promise to make America great again.
Reconciliation's important to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, near Lintlaw, several farmers contacted the RCMP saying that these men were coming to their farms and demanding food. So a posse, in addition to Constable Novakoski, the same one that tried to stop them days earlier, and Constable Walter Hutchinson, stumbled across a stolen blue Plymouth in the bush, full of all sorts of stolen goods. That Thursday morning, the 3 of them stole 3 horses from a farm in Kelvington, and so the police, kind of seeing that they're in this area, kind of tighten their search to do that.
I'll tighten my search to Kelvington.
That's what you say when you log into Tinder on Calvington.
So, anyway, then there was a Constable Joe Parsons and a Constable Hayes. They found 3 horses tied to a tree in a farm near what is, I guess, the ghost town of Kinloch, which is about 30 kilometers north of Kelvington. They found 17-year-old Mike Kurelak. He was walking over to the horses at the time, and then basically they arrested him without any problems. So Parsons left Hayes with Mike Kurelak, and then approached the farmhouse. When the 2 Bills ran from the house, Parsons ordered them to surrender, but they had other ideas. The brothers drew their guns and began shooting at the officer.
Same.
And then they ran into the bush. One went one way, the other one went the other way. So basically hearing that we found this car and we arrested Mike and everything just kind of like brought all sorts of energy to these search teams now. So they're like, these search teams are like super energized because, they're catching them. They're going to catch them.
There's few forces more powerful on earth than ignorant stupidity. They're just like, fuck. Well, I mean, the whole county's against us. Fuck, we can make it. Just start shooting at them.
Yeah.
It's the prairie. It's like there's limited places to hide. Like
that's true.
You always have to be out in the open. You're not moving through some mountains or forest or something.
Yeah. So anyway, Mike, having been captured, gave up the names of Bill Kerlach and Bill Miller, and
the Bills.
The Bills. So after confrontation in Killock, Bill Kerlach headed north towards Greenwater Lake. He stopped at this Adams family farm and asked for a place to sleep.
Da-da-da-da. 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 Da-da-da-da.
I'm not sorry.
All right. I was waiting for that. So recognizing who he was dealing with, Mr. Adams had agreed to let Bill Kerlach, rest in his place and, have a bed for a night or whatever. Yeah. And, come on in, some prairie hospitality. And so while Bill was sleeping, Adams ran to the neighbor's place and called the police. So Bill Kerlach was captured by 5 police officers, a Corporal Nutt. There you go.
I'll corporal your nut.
Constable Nightingale.
I'll constable your Nightingale.
And Constable Newman.
I will also constable your Newman.
Newman.
All right.
Children of the 90s, rejoice.
So
you're a baby. You get the fuck out.
Hey, I watch Seinfeld.
So at 4 a.m., Bill Kerlach was captured on July 8th. His younger brother Mike had been captured. And neither of them actually put out any sort of a struggle when they were arrested. Bill Kerlach, they found that he had a loaded revolver under his pillow. So despite having a loaded revolver, Bill Kerlach just kind of gave in. So only Bill Miller was out there.
Oh, boy.
So Miller was seen several times Friday morning. He headed southeast after leaving Killock. And each time he was sighted, basically it ended up in a shootout while he fled.
Just casually, like it just basically ended up in shootout.
Well, that was what he did.
Just imagine that, like he's walking down the street, some old
Bill
friend.
Miller, bang, 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 and then he runs away.
By the way, on my list for a future episode is the Mad Trapper that happened in the 1800s, and this reminds me a lot of that. A lot of shootouts and then running.
And so the police used an airplane to track him. They would see him running from like thicket to thicket. So they would be like, oh, he's in this one. So they would circle around back to the posse, drop another brick message from the plane to tell him he's in this thicket.
Okay, drop another brick message?
Yeah.
That sounds gross.
Letting the posse know where he was. So anyway, Miller was about 9 miles northeast of Kelvington. Late in the afternoon, the posse had met up with him and he was surrounded in the bush and basically was hiding in this bush, but they found him anyway. And then there was an exchange of gunfire, I guess, as you do.
I also like to exchange in gunfire while hiding in bush.
Surrounded in the bush. I mean, that's also a band name. I just haven't figured out what genre that goes with.
Surrounded in the bush is definitely like a 90s like indie kind of alternative.
Oh, I'm with you. Yeah.
And just in case this is sounding like a bad movie, be reminded that guns back then were not as dialed in, as accurate as they are today. So like bullseyeing a shot was not necessarily bullseyeing a shot, even if you do everything perfect, because the manufacturing process was not perfect back then.
So anyway, they exchanged gunfire, and then Miller suddenly stopped shooting. And the people were kind of like, what the fuck? So they kind of cautiously approached this bush, and they found Miller.
Story of my life.
Yeah, I do like to cautiously
approach a bush. And he was found dead. There was a wound in his leg, and another shot had ripped a hole in his abdomen. However, not these shots did him in. What did him in was a single round from his own revolver into the side of his head.
What the fuck?
They found him lying on the ground with his revolver still in his hand, and in the cylinder was 5 live shells and 1 spent.
Was that like that on purpose?
Well, he didn't want to. Well, what are you going to do? I mean, they're going to catch you, or they're going to shoot you and you're going to die, or you're
going to die in your own terms, I guess.
What would you guys do? Take yourself out or go down in a hail of gunfire?
Hail of gunfire.
Hail of gunfire.
Ditto.
fucking hail a gunfire.
I would have charged out with my revolver and just
take a bunch of shots.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I know I'm gonna die, but I'm just be like,
I said that for years. I would love to go in a hail.
I say I would do that. I'd probably shit myself and hide in the cellar.
Oh yeah. When push comes to shove.
Yeah.
I would too. Also probably hide.
I mean, I was in the military, but I was in an instructing role. I don't want to hold a gun and shoot at people from other countries. Please, no, thank you.
I've never shot a gun.
Yeah.
I should shoot a gun.
It's not.
Someone show me how to shoot a gun.
It's not.
Why the fuck have I not ever shot a gun?
Your husband's a hunter. Go shoot his gun.
Okay, well, should I go?
I think I think she does that on a regular basis.
So, a divinity student who's in one of the posses came...
That's a real divinity student kind of vocation.
Hey, there's
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go join a posse and try and shoot a guy.
There's literally a divinity college like
around the corner.
Yeah, like literally like the next set of houses over there.
So anyway, this divinity student rolls into Kelvington in this car. 3 doors were missing on the car. It only had one fender. There was no bumper. The local newspaper said it was the worst looking wreck that had ever reached here under its own power.
But I bet it ran like a dream.
Yeah, I bet it fucking got you from point A to point B.
Looks like shit, but it'll get you there.
Yeah.
So the
That's
searchers,
what they say about me.
the searchers, when they reached Kelvington, didn't look any better.
Wonderful, Sage. What are you talking about? Come on now.
The search basically took 4 days, thousands of dollars, which I guess was a lot of money back then.
Still is lots of money now.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And
if you've ever been poor, you dirty landlord, you.
Basically, 40 cars had received like some pretty serious damage as a result of this as well.
Pocket and bullet holes, and
Yeah,
shrapnel
like
and all
just
that.
big mess.
Yeah.
And this had basically been the biggest manhunt in the province's history.
Fuck yeah.
So at the trial, the Curelax had said that it was Miller who shot Ralls. And
That's right. Pin it on the dead guy.
Well, exactly.
That's what
Pin
you
it
do.
on the dead guy.
You got to be like smart about that. That guy shot himself. You're like, he can take all the blame.
And now we go to the dead guy for cross-examination. Okay, thank you, dead guy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. As you do. And I was hoping to do a little bit more on the trial, but I kind of figured this was long enough as it is. So,
That's what she said. That's what she said.
Mike was sentenced
She never
to
says that.
15 years.
Too long is not good.
I mean, and
it just like bumps against your
I
cervix.
think with this, like the legal system, even today is like broken as fuck. So I can't even imagine back then. I don't know, like
forensic pseudoscience much and what have you.
Call back to that episode. Yeah, forensic science is a science as dildos are to penises.
Yes. Bumping the cervix is the name of my 2003 Aidan Bowman Collegiate Institute Battle of the Bands band.
Okay, well, that sounds really good. And also kind of unpleasant.
Yes.
Yeah. So Mike was sentenced to 15 years. Bill was sentenced to hang for murder.
Oh, boy.
Part of the aftermath, I guess, Officer Ralls is buried at St. Mary's Cemetery in Prince Albert. He's listed on the RCMP honor roll, page 52.
Nate.
In 1959, a street in Depot Division was named Ralls Lane.
The fuck is Depot Division?
Depot Division. Okay.
Where's
like
that?
Depot Prevera. It's in Regina. It's in like West Regina.
I don't know anything
by the
about
airport.
Regina. Okay.
So in 2008, a local park in Foam Lake was renamed to, I guess, honor Corporal Ralls. Bill Kurelak was found guilty of murder.
Like you do.
And he was hanged in Regina Jail on December 29th, 1932.
My second wife used to work at the Regina Jail.
I worked with corrections.
I
Not with provincial, though.
I looked at going into corrections, but I think I'm too empathetic.
You should go into, like, being a corrections officer. I think you'd be fine at it.
Yeah, but I feel so much for people. Like, don't
I think
you,
you'd still be good at it.
Don't you have to have like a level of disconnection? And all
Well,
that?
I'm sure that you develop that, and
Yeah.
also you'd be like a good corrections officer. I
Yeah,
think.
You'd also be a
go
good
try and take
carry.
the test.
Yeah, I'm looking.
And also carry.
I'm looking at getting back into the carry program in the fall because, like, old people like me, and Canada's population is swiftly aging. So.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you got guaranteed job security. I've been
like forever.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be your client one day.
Oh fuck yeah! I can lift an old person into bed.
Clean my ass.
I'll do that.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just wiping asses. I've been carried for 8 years, and 100% of the job is wiping asses.
I used
Wipe
to
my ass.
I used to be scared of poop, but since owning ferrets and dealing with their like nuclear carnivore poo, I mean it can't be too bad.
No,
people poo's not.
They're not happy little
People
rabbit
poo's not-
pellets.
yeah,
They're nuclear carnivore poo. So sorry, Richard Bigley.
We just keep It's because he went last.
Yes.
Because I bullied him into going last instead of second.
Also,
last.
this is the nature of being a host on Occulte Veritatis.
Sorry, not sorry.
Like, I think a third of the comic relief like side tangents make it to the live episode, but that's what adds our
Because we
charm.
all think we're so funny.
Oh yeah,
especially.
And then when you listen to it later, you're like, "That is
No, I'm like,
not
fuck,
even
I'm awesome.
close to funny."
Hey, at least
God damn, I'm hilarious.
at least 67 people at the time we're recording pay us to think we're funny. So
Yeah, eat shit. Eat my entire ass, all of you.
you know, try a taste first, try a bite, and then you can continue on my
Yes.
ass.
Like a little dessert spoonful. You're
Have a little
Yeah.
dessert spoonful of my ass,
Yeah, like a
and then eat the entire thing.
Yeah, have a Basket Robbins tiny spoonful of my ass, and then consume the rest.
Did you know that taint is the smell of a goat?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, like what is taint? Like a goat smells like taint. That's what the word taint means. Goat smell.
Yeah, well, taint is not a goat though. Smell. Maybe they're just similar words for different stuff.
I'm surprised how quickly my taint smells after a shower.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a tragedy.
I'm actually surprised at how you've checked this.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I feel like is this a
like
rigorous?
bend
Is this a
Well, you
rigorous?
just like stick your
experiment?
hand in there.
You know,
No,
if
you just do the wipe and
come,
sniff.
come on, let's
Wipe and sniff. Yeah.
let's
Yeah, but like I
Okay.
understand the mechanics of checking it once, but in order to know how quickly it is,
Okay, I'm
like
dr-
you have to have periodically sampled it. Like there's a scientific rigor required to
know-
understand these things.
You know, I'm drunk enough to be honest. If I'm asking a special lady partner to go down there and do stuff with my jiggly bits, I'm going to take a sniff test first. I want to see what she's going to go through.
You want to give it a wipe with some like wipes first.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, give it a
No,
wipe.
I shower.
Give it a wipe.
Oh yeah. It's just that. Yeah.
Brush your teeth.
Oh yeah.
Because
Please
I think
God, brush your teeth.
we've all run into a stinky dick.
Oh yeah. Nobody
It's,
likes
no
that.
one
It
likes
is
it.
not fun.
Yeah.
Stinky dick's not good.
Yeah. Also,
Splash some water on that.
also, people out there, I hear they're horrible for the environment, but there are flushable wipes out there.
Don't do flushable wipes. Just
No,
do regular
just regular
wipes
wipes
and
and
then
put them in the trash.
Yeah.
But like, okay, yeah, put them in the trash. Yeah,
Put 'em in
the trash.
Yes, yeah, I agree with that. And
Or flush them down the toilet one at a time because no one's fucking watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason
I'll allow
the
it.
reason I push that, the rest of the world is ahead of us on this.
Mm-hmm.
If you got shit on your arm, would you just wipe it off with some toilet paper? No, you'd wash that shit. So why is your asshole any different?
Hey,
Exactly.
I have an irrigator attachment on my toilet. When I get constipated, I turn this thing on and it blasts water into my rectum,
Yeah.
fills it up completely, and then I blast it out with all the shit.
I have one of those in my Amazon cart waiting to ship. I'm
Dude,
just waiting for payday.
It's so worth it. It's
Yeah.
so
Just
worth it.
waiting for payday.
Waiting for payday, then I can finally shoot water up my ass and feel clean.
It's so good.
So I just like wash my ass in the shower and make sure everything's all like nice and tidy.
You got to get an ass irrigator attachment for your toilet.
It's wonderful. I mean,
I'm not sure my shits are that messy.
No, it's not even for. It's for when you get bunged up.
I
You
don't.
just
I don't
blast
get.
the shit
I
out.
don't get bunged up though. Like
Why not?
I eat a lot of vegetables.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, eat more fiber. You'll
Yeah,
be fine.
I have a really good diet.
I don't.
I started putting a tablespoon of fiber powder in my protein shakes, and that's done wonders.
I don't know. I think he just needs more Bandits moonshine, and that'll clean him right out.
Beer shits.
I think I've had
Drink
enough
more beer.
I think by the quality of the tangents in this episode, I think I've had enough moonshine.
Okay. Also, beer shits are definitely a thing, and also so are period shits. We've talked about periods.
Yeah.
I don't get my period anymore because I have an IUD.
Fuck yeah.
But I get the period shits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a
like
thing.
that hormone like domino effect thing that
Yeah.
creates the period shit
Yes.
still happen. Fuck.
Yes, it still happens, but I don't bleed at all.
Man, if If I bled from my crotch like a week a month, I'd just stay home and cry.
It's no fun.
Fuck.
Go on an IUD, all of my people with uterus listeners.
You know, I got
IUDs.
I got my tube snipped.
Best.
I smelt my own balls burning for 5 minutes, and now
Isn't that the weirdest fucking thing? Because
Yeah.
I've had a vasectomy too, and this, like the cautery gun
Yeah.
burning your testicles is the weirdest fucking smell ever.
Snip,
It's just
snap,
like
snip,
burnt
snap.
snake.
It's not pork. It's not beef. It's somewhere in between.
No, it's probably closest to pork.
It's closest to pork, but it's not quite.
That's why I don't eat meat.
Long pig.
Blah,
Richard
blah,
Bigley.
blah, blah,
What? So what happened to your family in the end?
How does the episode end?
So, as for Bill's execution, he was described as cool and impassive by the
Me
Saskatoon
too. I'm
Star
also cool
Phoenix.
and impassive.
On the day of his execution, Bill Kerlach spent the night before his 6:02 a.m. execution in spiritual meditation.
Too early.
The 30-year-old died with a half smile on his face.
Yeah.
He didn't say a word about his crime.
Yeah.
He had little to say the night before. He basically wrote letters to his parents and his brother and sister. He thought a lot about his mother, who was suffering from cancer at the time. And at 3 a.m., he ate his last meal. It was bacon, eggs, toast, and coffee.
Oh, good, perfect. Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
I love eggs and toast.
Yep.
With like a scooshy yolk, and you just kind of like
No,
scoosh
no
it all.
scooshy
No,
yolk.
you scoosh it all together, and it goes into the toast.
And you get to dip the toast in it. Oh, I love
When I was pregnant, all I wanted was like a gooshy yolk.
So when the guards came to pick him up, he thanked them for his treatment while he was staying in the jail.
Yeah.
There were traces of tears in his eyes.
Oh.
It was still dark out, being December 29th, and early in the morning, electric light illuminated the scaffold. I think that's interesting that the newspaper said it was electric light.
Yeah. I guess a sign of the ages, eh?
Exactly.
And
And
fancy electric lights.
yeah, he didn't need assistance walking up the stairs. They put the black cap over his head and placed the noose around his neck. Prayers were said. Kerlach repeated amen after the prayer, and then the signal was given, and he dropped through the platform. They cut his body down 12 minutes later, and then afterwards turned it over to the family, who had made absolutely no plans on what to do with it at the time.
Oh boy.
The hood is always an interesting part of that manufactured decency, you know? Yeah.
He
Is
was
it really about that, or is it just so that like the people watching don't have to like look the guy in the eye
That's
as
exactly
he,
it.
as he
Manufactured
dies?
decency.
But I
You
mean-
don't have to see the face of the person.
But it's
that's dying.
decency for the audience. It's not decency for the accused.
I guess
No.
it makes me think of like how it was done in ancient times. I mean, I'm fresh off a Dan Carlin episode of Hardcore History where he talked about this, where he talked about the centuries that humans had taken like death and suffering and gore as legitimate forms of entertainment, and like bring your kids, bring the wife, see the hanging. And like I think the hood only came recently when like I guess
See people's eyes pop out.
were people more sensitive to that, do you think?
I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, never having lived through any sort of public hanging in my time.
Yeah.
Not that old.
yeah.
I would definitely say that they were trying to preserve like the humanity of the person that they were killing.
Yeah.
Because seeing like their eyes pop out and their face contort from the lack of oxygen, change all the different colors and whatever.
Yeah.
Kerlach was described as a model prisoner for the 3 months he was in the cell waiting his execution. Warden Gledow had said that he had caused no trouble, read popular magazines, and played cribbage with the guards.
I love cribbage.
Most of the time, however, was spent painting watercolor sketches with a small brush that he had. Above the warden's desk in his office was a big Christmas card, which they had put into a frame. It was about 2 square feet, and there was gold lettering on a green background, and it was printed, "To the warden and staff, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Here's health to you and wealth to you, and all you wish for yourself to you, bright for you, and cares light for you, and everything go right for you." At the top of the painting, there was a figure of a blue-coated guard with a bow shooting red arrows across the green expanse. It was Kerlach's last work. For weeks before Christmas, he had been working on this watercolor and then gave it to them the day before Christmas. He presented it to the warden and asked them if they could put it in a wooden frame for him.
Boy.
And that's the story of Bill Kerouac and his brother Mike and Bill Miller and Constable Ralls. And to bring it back to y'all, I kind of mentioned some DNA testing earlier. So if my research and analysis and assumptions are correct about where I sit on the family tree, Mike and Bill are my great-great-uncles, brothers to my great-great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
In talking to some of the family about it, who are basically by and large absolute complete strangers to me, it sounds like there's a whole bunch of different theories. Some of them, Miller's story, that it was Miller who should have been executed. Some of them believe that it was Mike who killed Rawls, but his brother Bill, being older and in and out of jail and not really having a whole hell of a lot going for him, decided to take the blame for it to protect his little brother. That's one of those kind of interesting family stories in that family of the people that I'm related to, but don't actually know.
I mean, any of you that listen to the Ood Story episode, I recognize that impulse to protect, to put yourself at sacrifice to protect your siblings. Because, I had to get in between, my dad and my siblings, more times than I could count. And we did a lot of damage to each other because I was getting older and stronger, and my dad was already strong already. And, I get that urge to protect your little brother. So that's plausible to me. Yeah.
Yikes. That's crazy.
Well, thank you for diving into your family history, and thank you for being the first ever Occulte Veritatis guest to lead their own episode.
Yes.
I'm just in it for the fat Patreon dollars.
Oh, yeah.
So fat.
There we go. How about some free booze, minus the booze that you paid and brought for?
Yeah, minus the booze you brought here.
I don't know. You brought moonshine is pretty pricey, so I think you came out behind this time. Yeah. So yeah, you want to take us out?
Okay, I'm Richard Bigley, and for Occulte Veritatis in studio we have
Leon Pilger,
Sage Murray,
Ood Gallifrey,
JLo,
and in the corner we have Lord Loki.
Have a good night.
Love you.
Cheers.
Alrighty, thank you to Richard Bigley for presenting your first episode. I guess presenting these is kind of a deceptively difficult thing because you have to be ready to deal with interruptions because people are going to ask questions and make jokes and all that. And you just have to roll with it and continue the story afterwards. And the interruptions are important because you need a little bit of light when we dive into the dark, and we need people to ask questions and clarify when things don't make sense, because if they don't make sense to our guests, it's likely they don't make sense to people in the audience. So, thank you to Richard Bigley for stepping up, researching the topic, and telling us a little bit about his relatives. And for the after show, we have Andy G. Cohen with his song, Worky Worky. Have a good night. See you in the after show.
Hello and welcome to the After Show. I am Sage Murray along with
Leon Pilgrim.
Food Gallifrey.
Okay, so I got an email. You know how I love getting emails. Send me emails. sagemurrayov@gmail.com. So I got this one from Dian Vikachi. First of all, my name is Dian Vikachi, a simple English teacher from Serbia.
Ooh.
I dated a guy from Serbia.
Yeah.
And together with my wife, Andrea, she's an illustrator, we simply adore your podcast.
Oh.
Nice.
I wanted to write to you personally because in one episode you mentioned that nobody writes to you. So wish fulfilled. It's true. Nobody fucking writes to me except for this guy, which I appreciate.
SageMurrayOV@gmail.com. Shower her with your attention.
Yes, please shower me. I need the attention. Moving on. I love how the podcast. I love how the podcast feels and what you guys bring to the table, especially with being open and honest about everything. Even more especially since you guys are drunk. Yes.
Yep.
Yes, I am.
Loose lips make great entertainment.
Yep. I would like to say that I support you guys all the way, and as soon as I get a chance, we'll do so on Patreon too. Don't worry about it. We just love that you are listening.
Yeah,
But we also love Patreon.
Well, yeah, but it's cool that you're listening.
If you can contribute, we appreciate it. If not, tell your friends and we'll call it even.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Keep up the good work. I really hope to hear some mystery about the Balkans too, because I'm curious what you guys could find.
Interesting.
Definitely Balkans. Make sure to say hi to the rest of the gang. Love you all. I love you too. And they also love you.
All right.
Thank you.
Mysteries of the Balkans. We'll put it on the list.
Mysteries of the Balkans.
Yeah.
Definitely. I could definitely find some creepy shit there.
Yeah. Once again, thank you for writing in. And you know, people say that they like what we do here, but really we're just sitting down in front of the mic and trying to be open and honest and like confront some hard to talk about issues.
I
with
just
a
drink
little
too
bit of alcohol.
much
Yeah.
and get a little bit louder than my normal personality.
Yeah. We're the three people with full-time jobs that, you know, have to pay rent every month and all that. And like, we love taking this journey with you. So thank you for writing in.
Yes, we love you. Yeah. Thank you. All right, so that's the After Show. I'm Sage Murray.
Leon Pilgrim.
Ood Gallifrey.
All right, love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.